You're watching Power Media Network.
I could be running or I'm chasing you, but I won't, 'cause I got better things to do. Rather spend my precious time chasing somebody who loves me too. If I got $1 for every time you slam the door, I would be the richest girl alive. If you hadn't run away every time I asked you stay, you would sleep right next to me tonight. But you didn't know me, all you wanted was a game to play, and you couldn't handle that I had no ways. I found your matrix and your side chicks, I'm a winner, babe. Part of the game.
Hello, Power Media family. Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience with us is fruitful. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. And we do hope you consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
Hey, Junior, once again. Hey. Welcome to Nicole D. Vick Live. I am Dr. Nicole D. Vick, and I am alive. How about that? I'm so glad to have you here with me. I was just sitting here thinking to myself, hold on, how are we almost a half of the year gone? How? What is going on? Somebody stop the train. I can't, I need to get off. This is moving too fast. We doing too much. It's all right. Now, I will say that this week's episode is an episode that was supposed to air April 10th. But, sometimes things happen. Schedules be doing stuff, funny style and whoop-de-whoop. And we finally get into it now at the beginning of May. And that is okay. Because guess what? It's my show. I can do what I want to do. And that's what I'm fit to do, is what I want to do. So the episode was really about public health being at this crossroads. We are in a crisis, but at the same time, so I don't know, I have this weird thought process around what's happening. I will say, I'm going to say two things. If you follow me on LinkedIn, and I don't know if I posted it on Instagram, but I came on LinkedIn maybe about 2 weeks ago and said, listen, I know some of y'all are dismayed about how public health is being dismantled, right? People are getting laid off. Programs at the federal level are being shut down, just taken apart, and just a whole host of things are happening. I said, now, if you understand the history of public health in the United States of America, you know that this is a hard reset. This is a default to factory settings. This is a return to the origins of public health in this country. And I gave some very clear examples of that. I talked about Dr. Oppenheimer and what he wrote. He said, y'all did Black people real wrong, public health people. You ignored them. You forced them to fend for themselves in regards to sanitation and infrastructure and whatnot. I gave current examples around hookworm in Alabama. There's a county in Alabama where there's a predominantly Black population, and the folks got hookworm. Guess why? Because they ain't got nowhere to put their sewage. The former administration had said, guess what, Alabama, or that particular county in Alabama, you have to fix it. That's not acceptable. And this current administration said, you ain't got to do nothing. So folks are in Alabama with hookworm that is really not seen in this country and hasn't been for a long time because we have good sanitation except for where they are. And so I drew those two parallels and said we are defaulting to our factory settings. We are doing a hard reset, and this is not unfamiliar to a lot of us in these systems. So, yes, we are in a crisis, but why, and how, and what? Like, it's just this interesting thing I have in my head about what's happening. I also will say, I'm very proud and happy that organizations like the American Public Health Association are being vocal. Like, hey, what y'all doing ain't right. We need to fight back. So I appreciate that because we do need to figure out how to make sure that the things that we fought so hard for and worked so hard for to make sure, in regards to equity, health equity specifically, we can get those things back because it's looking real bleak right now. Anyway, one of the things that I had said at the time also was, I wonder if the reason why it's so easy to sort of dismantle public health in this way is because people don't understand public health. I feel like public health has a branding issue or a public relations issue. Like it's one of those things where we do so much, but then at the same time, nobody knows what we're doing. I think I said something like it's similar to that middle child, right? The middle child is there. We know it's the middle kid is there, like, hello, but they get lost between the older child and the baby, right? And nobody really pays attention until maybe something happens. And so I often feel like that's what public health is. We do our best work behind the scenes. We're back behind the curtain, making sure things are operating as they should. And nobody really knows anything until we have a pandemic or, what was that called? Mad cow disease or E. coli or something like that happens. Then we kind of pop out and show people, kind of pop out, right? So I don't know. So I asked Dorian, and I'll introduce him in a second, to talk to me about his thoughts on this. And Dorian is the public health uncle on LinkedIn and TikTok, I believe. And so we weren't able to do it in person because he was busy. So he sent video files and audio files. And I'm so excited because this is going to be my first time doing this kind of an interview where he's going to give his response, which I haven't heard yet, and then I'm going to be able to respond. So let me introduce Dorian to all of you. Oh, you know what though? Let me back up a little bit. Can I talk to y'all about how I'm doing right now? I hope that's okay. I am so proud of myself, and I hope I don't start crying on Nicole D Vick Live. But I'm really proud of myself because over the last, I'm gonna say 3 to 4 weeks, there's been some improvements in my health. You all know I broke my ankle almost a year ago, which is crazy. I have been given permission to drive. If you watch my videos on LinkedIn or Instagram, you will see I got in that car and backed that mofo up out. Me and Felicia have been rolling to work and everywhere else. I haven't tried to get gas yet. I'm like, I'm gonna have to probably go to Costco and have them put it in for me because I don't think I can get out and really kind of do that. But I can drive, so I'm like, yes. And I know you all know this. This is such an important part of my sort of journey back to independence. So that happened, and then I saw my physical therapist earlier this week, and we had been talking about getting me ready for a cane. And so she said, let's see. And so she went to the little physical therapy closet with all the things in it. And she came back with one of those canes that has like the 4 little baby feet at the bottom of it. She said, okay, let's go. Put the cane in your on your left side, and I'm gonna show you how to do it, and you do it. And I did it, and I posted that video as well. So I ordered a cane. I ordered a blue one. I'm going to put sparkles and rhinestones on it, just like my fingernails. And I am going to practice at home with my little cane until I get, confident enough. And I'm going to be outside with my little cute little cane with the sequins on it. Mm-hmm. So really, really excited. My therapist was so happy to see my improvement, and I'm happy as well, of course, right? And hopefully I'll be walking in a matter of months. We'll see. I'm taking my time. I'm doing my exercises to get stronger. My calf muscle looks a little better than it did a few months ago. It's a little stronger. You can see the muscles in there. So really, really happy about that. And I just felt like I needed to share that with y'all because I think, the journey has been really long and there was a lot of frustration for me, but I'm getting better and I'm so excited. All right, now let's go to Dorian. Dorian Johnson is a public health educator, a master health coach. He is dedicated to making health accessible, actionable, and equitable. He does a really good job on LinkedIn using what do you call those infographics and other things to sort of help people understand difficult public health concepts. He is the public health uncle. He uses storytelling, which is so important, and metaphors as teaching tools to empower individuals. I feel like recently he just did one like he was trying to explain the different aspects of public health and said something like different chips in the dip. And he had different dips, hummus and guacamole and the different chips to kind of explain that. And I thought that was so cute. He uses those metaphors as teaching tools to empower individuals to make informed decisions and take meaningful steps toward healthier lives. His work is rooted in a deeper purpose, dismantling inequities. Now, that's a powerful statement, especially given this current climate where we can't even say inequities, right? And addressing systemic barriers to health, education, and opportunity to improve health outcomes across generations. His unique approach blends cultural relevance, humor, and practical strategies that hit different to demystify complex health concepts and inspire action with what an individual has access to. I will also say, and this is just my observation based on some work that I've done in my research on my dissertation, and also my 20 plus years of experience in public health. Dorian is a unicorn. I do not often see a lot of Black men in the public health space. And so to see him and his platform and how vocal he is very inspiring. So I asked Dorian 4 questions, and we're trying to try to get through these and then head to commercial. And we're going to have our second guest come on. And she also provided an audio comment. She's actually a graduate student getting ready to graduate with her master's degree in public health. So we got two cool situations going on, but let's go back to Dorian. The first question I asked him, why has public health struggled to effectively communicate its value to the public? Because remember, my issue is maybe people don't know what we do, and that's why it's so easy to like just go in and start like pulling stuff out, firing people, laying people off, dismantling stuff. So I wanted to know why what the struggle is, and let's see what Dorian had to say.
Why has public health struggled to effectively communicate its value to the public? Well, when I think about communication, there's 2 things that come to mind. It's trust and connection. Now, when I think about trust, I think about how it needs to be earned, not just given. And to expect it to just be freely given just because we smart or we got degrees or whatever is high-key part of the problem. I'm sure we could agree that to be seen as trusted professionals, one needs to have knowledge, right? Like, public health professionals have knowledge. Cool. We know what we're talking about. But that's the floor. That's not the ceiling. Knowledge is not all we need. Far from it. We also need humanity. So the knowledge we do have, is it being shared respectfully, compassionately, from a caring perspective? Or is it not? Do we ridicule for people not knowing things? Do we punch down because they should know things? Do we shame people? And how might that influence trust? Especially if we sipping on that jargon juice from a hoity-toity ivory tower. That's one thing that's getting in the way of communications. And connection is the second part, which goes with that trust. And an essential part of effective communication is being able to share and receive gracefully. In public health, we have ideas and goals and visions and even fears that we share with non-experts, with lay people, with communities. But sharing is reciprocal. And health communications have long been criticized of being in monologue mode. So we're broadcasting messages at communities, at people, instead of with people and with communities. And let's be so for real. If our version of communication looks like finger wagging and fact dumping or shaming folks for not already knowing what we know, we ain't building trust. We're burning bridges. So if you ask me why we've struggled to communicate our value, it's because we've treated communication like a transaction. Like We say this, you do that. We input this, so you output this. When it's really a relationship. And relationships thrive on respect, reciprocity, and realness. And that's a challenge that we're facing, but there lies the opportunity in front of us.
You know what? Okay, in the Black community, when somebody sing real good, you throw the shoe, you better be lucky I ain't got no shoe over here, because it was not one lie told, not one. That idea of trust, that idea of reciprocity, so very important. And again, y'all know I've been in this for 20 years. I've talked to public health experts across the country for my dissertation and my research. A lot of times we are guilty, folks that work in this space, of it's this one-sided conversation, one directional from the expert to the people. And we don't realize and recognize that lived experience of the community members is also expertise. And that we should also be respecting that. And it should be a bi-directional conversation. And I think the last thing I'll say before I go to the next question is like this idea of trust as well. Like, I think we think because, whatever public health entity you work in, that, well, you maybe have a badge or you have a degree and you should respect and trust me. And it's like, I don't even know who you are. We don't ever see you until something bad happens. And the only time we hear from you is when you're telling us what to do. Why should no. And that's all usually what the answer is. No, whatever you selling, we don't want it. We don't want the vaccine. We don't want the condoms. We don't want the things. So yes, we might have to have Dorian come back in person for real, because that was a whole lot in that one snippet right there. All right, let's go to the next question. And then we'll go to commercial, because I know these are, we running out of time because I'm so excited. I'm just woo. Second question, how has this communication gap made it easier for the current administration to undermine public health policies? Okay, Dorian, come on.
So how has this communication gap made it easier for the current administration to undermine public health policies? It's not just that public health failed to communicate, it's that we didn't cultivate trust deep enough to withstand a storm. So think back to when COVID hit. People didn't just experience a virus. They experienced confusion, grief, loss, isolation. And in moments like that, people reach for clarity and connection and community, something to make sense of it all. So when guidance shifted from wearing a mask, not wearing a mask, wearing a mask again, it didn't feel like there was transparency, I'm sure. I'm sure it felt more like a whiplash where it's like, you kind of backpedaled. Like, how should I believe what best practices are when not that long ago you said X and now it's Y? So I think that situational context combined with previous feelings or thoughts towards public health kind of added fuel to the fire. And in that time where people were craving belonging during a pandemic and scapegoating, giving people something to rally around, it offers identity and direction and even comfort in chaos. So when the admin pointed fingers at scientists, at public health leaders, at anyone in the lab coat, it's not just an attack. It's a bonding moment. It's a us versus them. And that scapegoat became social glue, especially with what was experienced on a global stage not that long ago. And that's how an undermining can happen without facts. Just giving people someone or something to blame and a group to belong to as they blame. And without that strong foundation already of public trust, public health just became an easy target. And it's hard to trust something that you can't and don't see. Like, there's an open secret where public health is a victim of its own success. And even experts say that it's invisible. So to a non-expert, being able to trust this thing that you don't even really understand, that's just the ingredients of a lot of confusion, a lot of, well, the thing that you're saying, even if it's not true, it makes sense. and it's easier to conceptualize. So I'm going to vibe with that. And when people feel more seen by their outrage than their institutions, that's a perfect campground for being able to lock in and attach to an idea, whether it's true or not.
Wow. Again, Dorian. Perfect setup. Yes, I think COVID was actually the key segue to a lot of the shenanigans and shambles that we are in right now. And then, of course, there are some historical ones too. We can go back further than that. But I think in this current sort of climate, COVID was, I think, the catalyst to a lot of what we see today and how it became easy to sort of dismantle. Because if the public is already like, man, these people don't know what they're talking about. They was telling us to wear masks one day, and the next day they told us we didn't have to. And then they said this, and then they didn't say that. We tired of this. No, forget y'all. Y'all closed my restaurant. I'm a nail tech. I can't do nails. You messed all this stuff up. I'm angry at you. And so then it became easy to begin to say, we don't like them people no way. What do they do anyway? They just sit in the office all day and don't do anything. So you're right. I think it just made it really easy to start to just pull apart and pick apart the work. We're going to go to commercial, and then we're going to do one more question from Dorian. And then what I'll actually do, I think what I will do is make his final response a bonus thing that I'll air during one of my posts next week. And then we'll hear from Ayo. So let's go ahead to commercial, and we'll be right back.
Hey, it's Pastor Kim from It's Just Kim Live Show, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
What's going on, y'all? It's Kwame Speaks from Kwame Speaks Live, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
And we're back. I am playing some responses from the public health uncle, Dorian Johnson, around, again, I felt like public health has and he said it, we're a victim of our own success. We do things really well, and nobody knows that we're doing it, and they can't attribute it to us. And so it becomes, I feel like, easier for us to sort of be attacked in some of the things that are currently happening to happen. And I wanted to hear his insight. And so one of the questions I had for him is, what strategies can we as public health leaders adopt to rebuild public trust and protect the field from political attacks? Again, because I feel like it has become too easy. And when I say it is too easy, do they take the budget from the military? Do they cut it like this? Even in your own jurisdictions, your city or your county, do they take the sheriff department or the city police? Do they cut their budget, or the fire department? Do they cut it so tough like that? I don't think so. I feel like for whatever reason, our public health dollars often are just easily sort of, oh, we don't need that. And the reason why I know this is, once again, a sister was spent a whole long time writing up a dissertation. Matter of fact, yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of the defense of my dissertation. And, so this is really very much top of my mind. We have been, as an institution across the board, not just one health department or one public health entity, across the board underfunded and understaffed. So if we're already underfunded and understaffed, and then you have an administration laying off people and closing down programs that is already underfunded and understaffed, and like I said, does that happen to the military budget? I don't think it does. So what is going on? And I wanted to ask Dorian, what strategies can we adopt to rebuild that trust and protect the field so that we don't have these problems moving forward? Let's see what he says.
What strategies can public health leaders adopt to rebuild public trust and protect the field from political attacks? So I got a couple in mind. And one, we got to start with accountability. And not just a PR version, notes app, I'm sorry for my transgression, please forgive me, type accountability. But the kind where we ask, where have we fallen short? And actually staying in the room long enough to hear the answer, no matter how uncomfortable it might make us, no matter how much it might feel like a personal attack. Being able to sit with that discomfort and roll with it as you're getting insights from people will be more productive in the long run. And that's a skill to build. Because if we avoid accountability, we're sending a clear message where we care more about being right than being trustworthy. And people can feel that. And that dodging of accountability does not protect public health. And trust isn't rebuilt with better messaging. It's rebuilt with better listening and owning up to past shortcomings with a intentional, concerted effort to take from the past what we did incorrectly or wrong, combined with this feedback from the people because we sought it out, and including them in how we move going forward. So another strategy is we need to stop assuming we know what people need to hear and start exploring how they feel. In coaching, this is called resisting the writing reflex. So the writing reflex is trying to immediately fix or solve a problem. But how are we going to do that before we understand where people are coming from, where communities are coming from? So what are their beliefs, attitudes, what shapes their current view of public health? That's foundational stuff. Like, we cannot skirt that. And in any other field, they call that market research. So by implementing that, we could shift from that monologue to a dialogue, from that broadcasting to inviting in, because immediately trying to fix that problem is not broadcasting. It's still asserting your knowledge without humanity. So understanding the value of questions, exploratory questions, goes so far, and also asking permission to share, whether it's a story, a stat, or a recommendation from us, can go further than assuming our expertise makes us automatically welcomed. So we see strategies like this already happening in healthcare with elicit, provide, elicit. And they're not just for clinical settings. They're for relationships. And that helps with cultivating trust. So strategy isn't a louder message. It's reciprocal communication. It's inviting people into work. It's letting them shape it alongside us and giving them the space to tell us how we've been showing up, because we got blind spots. And in here, we call that evaluation, right? Letting them tell us how we actually are landing instead of how we think we're landing, because that insight and information will help us show up better. Because you can't rebuild trust from a podium. You got to rebuild it from the porch. So you got to be with them and alongside them.
Can't rebuild trust from the podium. You got to do it from the porch. Truer words have never been spoken. I mean, again, no lies. The whole idea of accountability, I think, is really, really important. I think that, well, here's one thing that I will say. In the case of accountability that he's referring to, I think it is important for that accountability in regards to the public, and also, because y'all know my level of expertise, the workforce, your workers also need that accountability. Because like I said, like he said, there's been a lot of damage that has been done that has not been sort of accounted for. So I definitely appreciate that. And I do like exactly what he said around, no, you can't have that sort of trust building from the podium. You got to come down to where the people are and have those really good conversations and really hear what people are saying and how people are feeling. And I think to his point, we do a really good job of, oh, I heard what you said. Oh, okay. We'll fix it with this. Here. And it's like, but wait, like hold on, take a minute, take a pause, really dig into what people are saying and how they feel about it, because that often will tell you a lot about what the response should be. The only concern that I have, not even with what he said, was that a lot of times, again, if you understand how our systems in this society are built, they are not built for equity. They're not built for inclusion. They were not designed that way. I know we were heading in that direction. We were doing a lot of work. So to me, it's like, okay, the accountability means that we need to listen to people, understand what they're saying and how they feel about what they're saying. But I just almost always feel like we're asking a fish to go build a house. When we talk about those kinds of things in regards to these institutions that are so big and so large and weren't designed to really think about those kinds of things, it's like we're asking the impossible. And I don't know how we move that needle, especially now when you done took funding away, you done took people away, and nobody's there to, really get the work done, or there's very few people. How do we even do that work? And so that's my fear as well. Like, I think we're in a ripe position to think about how to rebuild this system, but if we miss it, I don't think we're going to get anywhere close to where we even were before this happened, right? I've heard people say it's going to take about 40 something years to undo all the damage that has just been done in about 100 or something days, right? And when I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, because when Reagan era, they did what they did. I'm 40 something years old and we're still seeing, right, 40 years later, some of the stuff that was done, we're just now trying to undo. So I'm so glad. I might have to figure out how to way to get him here in person or on, virtually. We can kind of talk to each other. Such good insight. I'm really glad that I reached out to him. And even though he wasn't able, he still was able to give me the audio files, because he said some really, really good stuff. And hopefully it resonates with folks in the public health space. Now I want to have Ayo, who is a graduate student at Charles Drew University. Again, I also asked her to send me some audio files about, she's a graduate student. She's about to walk into the shenanigans and the shambles that we are experiencing right now. It's already hard enough to come out of school, to look for a job, to get employed, to do the thing and start your life out in that way. But now it's like, baby, I'm about to walk into this industry that's like, what? Huh? What happened? And so I wanted to hear what she's thinking about, what is worrying her and whatnot. And so one of the things I asked her is, how does she feel about entering the public health workforce at a time when we are in shambles? Let's see what Ayo has to say.
Question 1, how do you feel about entering the public health workforce at a time when policies are shifting against public health interests? I feel like it's a tumultuous time. I often think about more so about job placement than the actual public health workforce. And what I mean by this is when entering the field of public health, we originally were given the opportunity to think about what it is that we liked. So we were able to consider the field that we wanted to be in, the interest that we wanted to be in, and it's exciting. It's something that you look forward to. And then to see the fields that or the niche markets that we're interested in be dismantled and removed and not replaced, it sucks, because now you're in the mindset of just get the job. And I feel like with the policies that are shifting against public health interests, it puts everything at stake. And it's really, really going to be a time of innovation. And we're going to see who really is about really building the public health system back up. And I think that's where new grads come in, and a lot of the people that are already practicing public health professionals come into the space, because it's going to be a major time for collaboration to make sure that while things are shifting, we continue to build and we continue to innovate.
And she kind of said what I just said, that even though this sounds scary and it's kind of like, whoa, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Because everything is getting sort of pulled back and pulled away. And again, I know a lot of us know on a federal level, but think about it, your state health departments, your county, your city, they're all also going to sort of have impacts as well, depending on how their budget is set up. If they have a lot of federal money that's supposed to come to them, if that federal money is pulled back, what happens to their services? What happens to the workforce? And so it's a scary time, but she kind of said what I said, that wait, there's some, potential for innovation where we can try to rebuild and try to figure out how we can create something that is for everyone. And I think that she's right. The young folks coming in will actually be the ones that can help to spark innovation and bring in some new ideas and some new processes into this institution of public health. I will also say, I saw a comment on LinkedIn at one point and I had to respond. I was like, hold on. Somebody said something like, these old folks need to get up out of here and retire and move on and let the new people come in. I said, now, and I understand where that thought comes from. I do. I said, but wait a minute. Some of us have institutional memory. Some of us have been around long enough. We done seen the pandemic come back around full circle. You need to be listening to us. I'll give you an example. For example, a lot of people now are working on transgender TGI, transgender and intersex work. Like, how do we make sure that the populations are equitable for this specific population? And, let's train our workforce. Let's make sure they understand gender identity, gender expression, gender dysphoria, all these types of concepts, and understand so they can do better work with the public that they're serving, right? And then I'm thinking to myself, I'm happy because I love sitting in those kinds of trainings and learning. But the other side of it is 10 years ago, we were in my job, we were doing trainings of that nature as well. So there's two trains of thought. Well, why is it taking us 10 addition? Why are we 10 years behind in a sense? Or you could say, well, it's great that the investment has persisted over 10 years, that we realize this is important and recognize it's important and are continuing to do it. But I've been around for the first time and the second time, so I can give perspective. Hey, the first time we did it, this is what we saw. But if I'm not there, how do I tell you that? How do you know that? Or I can say, well, last time we did this, we did it this way, and maybe either we adopt it or we give it a different perspective. But at least I'm there because I have that experience. So I don't always think that we should push old people out. And I say old like this because I technically am now old in the public health space, but we often have some perspective that's valuable. So I don't want people to say stuff like that. Plus it's ages, like, excuse me. Oh, I'm not that old. And then Ayo has one other comment to offer. So let's let her close us out.
Personally, what gives me hope or helps me motivate to pursue a career in public health is the community that I'm in and the people that look like me. As an African-American woman, there are many social determinants of health that are already against me and that have been implemented systemically to not necessarily, I don't like to say the term hold me down, because I feel like Black women, we always find a way to rise to the occasion. But what gives me hope is seeing Black women in the field to change policy and to change some of these systems and to really pursue spaces within the public health system that haven't been touched or that are systemically oppressed or systemically disadvantaged. And I really think that helping marginalized communities is what really inspires and pushes me. And I think of attacking things at the top level versus doing things from a Band-Aid surface level. So I feel like oftentimes interventions are put into place and it's like, oh, here's a quick remedy versus changing the entire system, changing the entire policy. So change and equity are big pieces for me.
I just really feel like, will we ever get to the space in this institution where the change is actually sustainable? It's actually something that's so radical that it fixes things, right? Because I know there are barriers to doing a lot of things, to getting things done. But I hope one day we will get to that space to do the things that actually we know will help people, and will solve some of their problems. And it's hard because a lot of, these institutions have a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tape, a lot of things that get in the way of actually getting the work done. And sometimes it makes it hard to even hear. Dorian talked about listening to what the public has to say. Sometimes those barriers and that bureaucracy even gets in the way of something to me that's very simple, like go talk to the people. What we sitting in here trying to figure out what's the best way to do XYZ, about a population. Will you take your behind outside and go talk to them people? Why you act like you scared of these people? That's also another one. Why you act like you scared of these people? Now, y'all know me. I'm going to go, hello. What do you think about this thing? I'm going to go talk to the people, because the people are going to tell you what they need. They know what they need. They know what they don't need. They know what they don't want. But a lot of times we act like we are scared to talk to folks. And so, and those folks aren't stupid. They know, like, well, why you act like you scared of me? Like, what's the problem? And so they will not want to talk to you. And then that's where that distrust comes from too, right? As far as services and all those sorts of things. So this has been really great conversation. Let's actually close out. I was going to hold this question, but let's go ahead and play it. This is Dorian's last question. I asked him if he could change one thing about how public health engages with the public, what would it be? And let's see if he says something that's one of the things that I just said. We'll see. Come on, Dorian.
If there was one change about how public health engages with the public, I would say we got to be more curious, not reactive, not defensive, just curious. Because curiosity is a doorway to understanding, and understanding is how we build meaningful things. It's how we build things with communities and populations in mind, because we sought to understand. There will always be trolls. There will always be people committed to misunderstanding. But not everyone comes from a place of harm. Some come from hurt or confusion. Some come from past experiences that haven't been acknowledged. So rooting yourself in curiosity is a way to allow them to set the pace of how things go. And we can get insights from that. Because if we never get curious about that, if we don't ask, where is this coming from, then we miss a chance to connect. Connection is important with building trust. And we miss a chance to understand the beliefs, the attitudes, the fears, the values that shape how people see public health. And even if we don't agree, and even if the conversation does not change anything, it is far more productive than being reactive, than being that just defensive attacker, that punching down, that shamer. It gives us something to work with when we could yield and be curious. Because curiosity slows us down in the best way. It makes that space for nuance. It reminds us that trust isn't just earned through our schooling, through our education, through information. It's earned through presence, patience, and the willingness to listen without immediately trying to fix. So yeah, I would absolutely make public health more curious, because that one shift is the root of every other change that we need.
See, I told you, I knew it. I knew he was going to say exactly what I was thinking. Because remember I said, we can't be afraid to go talk to the people. That to me is a level of curiosity. Like, well, how come you think that way? Or why does this happen in your community? Well, what do you think should we do to fix it? That's curiosity. But you got to not be afraid of the people that you're serving, to be able to sit with them and ask those kinds of questions and to dig deep. And I'm gonna tell you this: a lot of times you talk to people in the neighborhood, if they trust you, they will have that conversation with you. They'll tell you exactly what's going on. Like, nah, this over here is crazy. We ain't got no grocery store. Matter of fact, we just actually, side note, we did actually finally got a grocery store in my neighborhood. But we hadn't had one for about 3 years. So like, the people will talk to you and they will tell you what's going on, but you can't be afraid. You have to be curious and have to be, understanding and know how to ask the right questions, and folks will open up and tell you. So yes, I see. I'm going to say this. it's something about Black people in public health that to me, I'm like, we are the secret sauce to a lot of to fixing a lot of what's wrong. We have an innovation and a skill set and a lived experience I don't think that anybody else has. And we operate in a system that was not designed for us. And we still come in with the passion and the drive to make a difference and make a change. So you will never hear me talk bad about nobody Black in public health, because I feel like we just have a unique set of skills and experience that nobody else does. And hearing Dorian speak, I'm like, come on, man. Come on, sir. He's the public health uncle. I feel like, but he's my public health uncle. Like, hey, what's up, man? You know, I just feel like there's this camaraderie regardless. Even if we've never met, it's that public health thing that gives us that sort of camaraderie. But then it's like, but we understand each other on a different level. And I'm so happy that I did reach out to him. And I'm also happy that Ayo got a chance to share her thoughts. That's it for this week. Next week, you know, we're going to probably have a conversation on Mother's Day. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I gotta sit with it for a minute. I'll keep you posted on that. But in the meantime, you know where to find me. I have a website, www.NicoleDvick.com, where you can watch episodes of this podcast. You can see me be guest on other people's podcasts. My books are there. I have 3: Pushing Through, Finding the Light in Every Lesson; Push Through 52 Weeks of Light and Tough Times, which is a journal; and then Triumph in the Trenches, which is an anthology. And I have a chapter in that anthology focused on the Black public health workforce. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm getting a little better now. I'm posting a little bit more. I'm talking. My voice is coming back. I'm like, let me say this. And I'm also on Instagram. I still haven't made it back to TikTok. I think when they had turned TikTok off for a minute and then they turned it back on, I'm like, y'all playing with us. I don't know about y'all. So for now, it's LinkedIn and Instagram. Again, I'll see you all next week. It probably will be a Mother's Day episode. I'm not sure yet. I'll figure it out in about I got about 3 more hours to figure that out so I can submit it to my producer. And you'll see me next week live here. And thank you so much. Thank you again to Dorian. Thank you to Ayo. And thank you for being here and listening and learning. And I hope this inspires you in some way to become more involved in public health, either as a consumer or as a professional. All right, y'all. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.